Danny, no one gets left behind.
You understand me, son? Yes, General.
You do what you have to do. Roger.
I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Rakakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone that teach us this truth. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect, 144,000, and all the Akim and Aqua. Shalom. Well, I know you might see all these images, they all saying no man left behind. Well, if you really want to think about it, that really comes from us. Because the Father says he's going to save all Israel. All Israel. Even though some might have to be put to death because of their wicked ways. And some of those ones that are YNs might actually turn to be good in those last hours. But only Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai knows that. I do not know that. Nor do I know their hearts. But one thing I do know, from the blessings of the Father through his only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, is that all Israel will be saved in the very end. And therefore, Shalakia, no man will be left behind. And that means Israel will not be left behind. And that shows you how beautiful that Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai are. That they will make a way. And they will come back through the hopeful elect. But let us read. This is Colossians. I'm sorry, Salakia. This is 1 Corinthians. And this is chapter 12. Verse 12. And I'm going to start here. For as the body is one, and have many members, and all the members of that one body, being many, are one body, so also is Christ. For by one Spirit are we all baptized into one body, whether we be Jews or Gentiles. And with that being said, Jews that knew that they were of the bloodline, and Gentiles that did not know who they were, just as, for example, you have people that are African Americans, excuse me, Shalakia, people that are African Americans, but they are really Israelites, but they call themselves African Americans, all right? But they're really Israelites, all right? So with that being said, when people say Jews and Gentiles, all right, it's not talking about other nations. So let that be known and written in stone. Whether we be bond or free, and have been all made to drink into one spirit. For the body is not one member, but many. Verse 15. If the foot shall say, because I'm not the hand, I'm not the body, is it therefore not the body? If the ear shall say, because I'm not the eye, I'm not the body. And it goes further on. But we are all a body and Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. We have many body parts. You have the head, you have the arms, you have the hands, you have the fingers, you have the torso, you have the thigh leg, the lower leg, the ankles and the feet and the toes. You have all that, but all that being together makes a man. And if you was ever someone that ran track, I ran track years ago, and you need all those things. You can't just run a race by just having fast legs. You have to have, your arms have to move just as fast. And your lungs have to be just as good to withstand the power coming from those legs and those arms, so that you may finish the race and become first place. So we need all those body parts, and all those body parts play a part. You can't have one without the other. And if you know anyone that was an amputee, which I knew people that were an amputee, I seen them, talk to them, and some of them, to be honest, some of them have the best spirits because they learn how to overcome something that they once had and now it was taken from them. And that's how we have to see this faith. We had it at one time and it was taken from us. Now we are getting it back. So imagine how a person that was an amputee and they was able to get back their body part. And I can actually can speak on that because when I was a little boy, my middle finger, actually, the tip of it actually came off with the bone. And every time I think about it and tell that story, it kind of messes me up inside because I know I could have lost that part, that member of my body. But thanks to my mother, I was able to get that part back and get it sewn back. And I had, the whole hole for a while. And my finger, you would never know. And then I almost lost another finger part. It's crazy. You can laugh about it after it's done and over with. I almost lost another finger, which was my pinky finger. And I have that scar to this day, along with the other finger. But that one's not much seen, but my pinky is very much seen, which that one could have came off. But luckily, that didn't happen. But with that being said, all the body parts of Israel make a difference to the Father, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. And we're going to move forward with Matthew. We're going to go into the book, Matthew 18:15. And this is in red letter. Moreover, if thy brothers shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. If he shall hear thee. Some might want to hear, some might not want to hear. When you try to tell someone something privately. I choose to try to hear what someone wants to say and then take it from there. But not everybody's like that. Thou hast gained thy brother. All right? So basically, you got to be open to hear what your brother got to say. Don't just fly off the hinges and not hear what your brother has to say. There's nothing wrong with your brother trying to speak how they feel or even trying to correct you privately. All right? It's nothing wrong with that. As long as that brother's doing it in love. But we would get to that further down the line. We're going to turn to Leviticus. And this is chapter 19. This is Leviticus 19. And this is verse 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor, and not snuff sin upon him. All right. So if you have to openly rebuke your brother, do so. Because sometimes you might have a brother that really could be going off. Really could be, doing the utmost. But don't do it in hate of thy heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor, and not suffer sin upon him. All right? So rebuke him. Or tell your brother how you feeling. But don't do it in such a way that it really caused something that really wasn't to be, how I say, so serious. To turn it into something more serious than what it is. And sometimes that happens, but that's really between those two brothers. Because you have to kind of feel someone out to know how you're going to deal with the situation. You don't want to just start screaming down someone's throat. And it could have just been a misunderstanding. This is Proverbs 27. And we're going to read 5 through 6. Openly rebuke is better than secret love. Faithful are wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. Now this is a very good verse right here. For the simple fact that says openly rebuke your brother. Alright? Because sometimes you got to say something right then and there. Alright? You might have to, your brother really could be going off. It could be about an issue that really you trying to really help that brother out. You know what I'm saying? Or the thinking that they might have might totally be wrong. It could be scripturally, or it could be something that they just doing wrong. And you might have to say, hey man, you really messing up. You might have to just address it right then and there. But as it says in verse 6, faithful are the wounds of a friend. You might be offended at that moment that your friend might have said something to you. And you might really want to get at them. But you got to sit back and think. Did the person say it out of love? Out of try to correct you in the right way? Or did they try to do it for their own, power? Which that happens sometimes, But the key thing is that, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. See, you can have someone trying to help you or act like they're trying to help you, but it's really with evil intent. And that happens a lot. Someone you think might be trying to give you good advice, but they're not giving you good advice. That's why it says kisses from an enemy are deceitful. All right? And you don't want to, you want to try to, decipher, what is coming to you. Because some people have good intentions and some people don't. But when you are in the brotherhood and you're following that way, it's going to most of the time always be from a positive standpoint rather than from a negative standpoint. Because we can't leave no fallen brothers behind. We have to make sure if a brother's being genuine, we have to make sure that this brother gets this truth. Because that is the importance of it. We're going to turn to Romans 12, verse 10. Be kindly affectionate one to another with brotherly love and honor, preferring one another. Love and honor, preferring one another. That's how we have to be. We have to do it out of brotherly love. Not out of, how you feel. But it has to be done out of love. We have to truly love one another, brother. We're going to turn to, this is Hebrews chapter 13, verse 1. Be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unaware. And see, you need to think about that. You really need to think about who you are talking to. Because an angel could be testing you to see how you address the situation. Whether it's you trying to rebuke, reprove, or even trying to help someone. What is your true intent of doing so? Because you might be entertaining an angel unaware. And a lot of people don't understand that. That's why we try to, when we are told to spread this truth, we tell everybody, because you don't know if someone is a tear. You don't know if someone is a speckled bird. You don't know. You have to test out the spirit. And you always got to hope that whoever you trying to give this word to, that there are someone of the bloodline. But you'll find out when you start talking to them. Or they could be of your bloodline, but they just could be hard-headed. And that can happen as well. But talk to all men with love, because you don't know, even if you're talking to an angel. This is 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 9. But as touching brotherly love, ye need not that I write unto you, for ye yourselves are taught of Yahweh to love one another. See, that's what we are taught. We are taught that through the Heavenly Father, through Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, to love one another. We're not here to beat one another down, to say I'm better than you. As the scripture has brought out, we are all of those body parts. Everybody plays a major role to help. And see, the thing to try to understand this, let me try to pause from these scriptures for a little bit, but not to ramble on but too much. We see a lot of these, things talking about soldiers and stuff like that. We have to understand, if we truly were reincarnated, which we were, we was in ancient wars. We was in ancient wars. And that's why you might find some brothers that might have more of a warrior spirit than others. Not saying that they wasn't warriors, but you might have some that were warriors, some that was more tactical, some that was more, using their brains on how they're going to go about war. But when the Father sent us to go to war, and he fought on our behalf, when we went to these wars against these other nations way back in the past, against the Philistines and stuff like that, we had to use different measures to go against these people. Don't just think that these are the only soldiers that ever was on the face of the earth. We come from a warrior background. That's why a lot of us, it's hard for us, and then the anger that we go through in everyday life, sometimes it's hard for us to turn that stuff off or to turn it down. I know it was hard for me, being very angry at having to live a life out of pain. You know, very, very hard. And then going with trials and tribulations all the time, that weighs on a man. But we have to be humble through Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. And he's doing that because a lot of brothers that used to be certain ways have honestly changed from the ways and still fight every day not to return to those ways. This is Matthew chapter 4, verse 11. Then the devil left him, and behold, angels came and ministered unto him. And unto him, as you read further down, was Yahushua, which I call ignorantly Jesus Christ. See, they didn't just leave Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. They didn't just leave Yahweh Shai to just suffer those pains. No. Those angels came to minister to him. And those were the very angels that he made. Your children can uplift you. The children that you very made can be like, come on, mommy, come on, daddy. You can do it. Just as we say to them that they can do it. Don't think your own offspring can't lift you up. Don't think your own brethren can't lift you up. Your brethren can lift you up or tear you down. But if you are of the elect, your job is to lift your brother up and to help your brother to stay strong. Not to do it out to make your brother feel bad. Nah, we're not here to do it for that. Anytime that you have to correct your brother or try to give your brother some good advice, you have to know how to speak to that brother. You have to know how that brother deals with when you're trying to. You just can't be like, man, fuck you. You're fucking up. You know, sometimes you got to be like that. Depending on that brother. Or sometimes even no matter what, you might have to be like that. But the thing is, you have to come at your brothers the right way. Because each brother is just a little bit different. And you have to know how to address your brethren. This is Luke 22. And this is 43. And there appeared an angel unto him from heaven, strengthening him. That angel was strengthening Yahushua. That's what that angel was doing. It was strengthening Yahushua when he was going through all that stuff. So that's how deep this brotherhood is. You can have brothers from far off that will come and strengthen you. And I have seen that too. Other brothers coming to another brother aid. And it's a real beautiful thing. And that's what we're supposed to do. But always do it out of love. And make sure when you address a certain brother, you address it the right way. Because you don't want to offend your brother. Because none of us are mind readers. None of us are. So you don't know how that brother might take it. And then if a brother is trying to give you some advice, don't just fly off the hinges with that brother. Because that brother was just genuinely, showing love. This is Proverbs 19:11. The discretion of a man differs. His anger, and it is his glory to pass over a transgression. All right. Verse 12, I'm going to read those two. The king's wrath is as roaring of a lion, but his favor is as dew upon the grass. A foolish son is calmly and his father, and contentions of a wife are continuously dropping. So you want to come at this the right way. You don't want to be like a roaring lion, but you want to see the favor as the dew grass. You want to be calm. You want to be just right. But you don't want to be coming off too standoffish, because if you don't, because I seen that brothers talking to other brothers and they trying to give their reason why they did what they did, and that brother might say, well, this is that or this and that, but sometimes you got to put yourself in that person's shoes, and sometimes, to be honest, that's kind of hard to do, but you need to learn how to do that, because it's, you never know how someone could be going through something or what's in their situation. It's like trying to, if a woman comes to you, because I experienced this, not experienced it happening to me, but being with a woman that had experienced it, and dealing with a woman that, was sexually raped. And when you're dealing with a woman like that, you want to be sensitive. You don't want to be insensitive to what she could be going through and just say, well, just get all over it. You don't know how that could have made that woman feel. Or even men. It's men that have been raped in jail. They could have just really got messed up. Because you hear a lot of stories how a lot of people go to jail and they were wrongly convicted. I heard a story of a guy that was wrongly convicted of a crime he did not commit. And that happened to him in there. And imagine that. To be wrongly convicted of a crime, and then that happens to you. But yeah, we will say it is judgment, because it is judgment. But we all know how that would really feel, though. If you got convicted of a crime and you ain't do it, and then something like that happens to you, it's going to be really kind of hard for you at that time to say, well, this is my judgment. Sometimes you have to understand that some stuff does happen, and some stuff happens unjustly. But let me further on go with this is First John chapter 3:16. Hereby perceive we the love of Yahweh, because Yahushua, because he laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for the brethren. See, that's real love right there. When you're willing to die for your brethren, you have to really think about that. And there's some people that are willing to die for their children, and die for their wives, and die for their husbands, and vice versa. And there's some people out here that are willing to die for the fellow elders and the bishops and apostles, and even fellow brethren. So you have to be also, when you say that you got this love that's all built up inside you for your brethren, it's real easy to rebuke one brethren and to correct them. But are you willing to die for that brethren? Let's say that brother might be weak, and you really, that brother's really trying to do all they're trying to do, but you might be a stronger brother. Let's say that brother might have a wife and kids, and they just about to make it over that hill. Are you willing to say, hey, I'm going to stay back and let them get me, so that brother doesn't have to feel that pain of him losing his children? Are you willing to do that? But you say you got the love in you. But are you willing to do that? Or is that same brother that does have wife and kids to say, you know what, I'm going to let them go, but may you watch over my wife and kids and my children, and just make sure that they see full that they're okay. And I'll die for them and for you. Are you willing to take care of what he asked you to take care of his wife and children? Are you still going to show that love, even though he spared that love for you? See, these are things that people really don't think about. But see, when you think about how when some of these soldiers go to war and stuff like that, they make those decisions all the time. Unless you have friends that been in those type of wars, you won't know. But see, but the thing is, what we forget is that we were once those soldiers fighting for Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. We was these no man left behind, fighting along with King David and King Saul. We was those men. We might not remember it, but we might see some things that how we might act and how we might carry ourselves and be like, you know what? I think that brother was a warrior. I said that to one brother. I said, man, I think you was a warrior back in probably your present lifetime, because to see how he fights for the truth. He fights for the truth, not for himself, but out of love for Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. And to see another brother to have that much love like that shows you how possibly how that brother was on the battlefield. Even though we can't go back in time, but it gives you just a little bit of a glimpse of maybe that's how it was. You know what I'm saying? But most likely it was like that, because we come from a warrior people. That's how Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai raised us. We had to fight against a lot of people to defend ourselves, because we went into slavery a lot of times. I don't think every time that we went into slavery, we was like, oh, put the handcuffs on us. Yes, that's what we want. No, we wasn't like that. We was fighting from that stuff. Just like a lot of us jump ships just so we would not become enslaved, because we refused it. But let me not keep dragging on. Let me keep going. But this is John chapter 15 verse 13, and this is red letter. Greater love have no man than this, that a man laid down his life for his friends. And that's what I was getting at. You have to be willing to lay down your life for your friends, for your fellow brethren, for your family, for your wife, for your children. You got to be willing to die. And some people just ain't willing to do that. They like to speak a good game, but don't want to really do that. You have to be willing to do that. You have to be willing to do the unthinkable that you think you might not do, but you might end up doing. That being said, I'm going to close out with a few more scriptures. I'm going to go to, all right, this is Galatians 6:2. Bear ye one another's burdens and fulfill the law of Christ. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. I'm going to verse 3. For if a man thinks himself to be something when he is nothing, he deceiveth himself. I'm going to just end it right there. So if you see your brothers having burdens, you need to carry that brother's burdens. That means it don't always have to be something financial. It could be something spiritually that they could be going through. They could be losing their mind. They could be an older brother going through dementia. You know, because his brothers that's in this truth that they're up in age. And some brothers that are just coming into this thing that are up in age. And there's some brothers that just been so fatigued with the stresses of life that they're losing their mind. It could be that. Or it could be a brother that's going through something financially. And you might have to, bear that brother's burden. Or that brother could have had a child pass away. Imagine how that feels. You watch something come into this world that you made and it was born. I mean, even Yahweh Shai cried over Lazarus' death. That brother could be mourning his mother or father that passed away, whether their parents was in the truth or not. You're still gonna feel that pain, you know. So we have to, bear one another's burdens, no matter what it might be. Give encouraging words, try to help them out, do your best. And sometimes, really, the best thing that you can give another brother is to be there for them. I'm gonna go ahead and end this one with James. This is James chapter 5, and this is verses 19 and 20. Brethren, if any of you do err from the truth, and one convert him, let him know that he which converted the sinner from the error of his ways shall save a soul from death, and shall hide a multitude of sins. This is the number one reason why I closed this lesson with that one, especially verse 20. It's because all of us, how I want to break this down right, all of us were sinners, and we did err of the way of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. But if you could save that brother from death, think about, it might be a sin that you might have really messed up with, and it might be haunting you. But imagine if you just save one brother from doing wickedness, and now they repented, they turned around their ways, and they have done right. It covers a multitude of sins. That is why we must help one another to our very best ability. Not just saying, well, hey, well, you need to make sure you make it here Saturday. Nah, give that brother a call. What happened? You didn't make it this Saturday. Is everything okay? Or you missed a few Saturdays. Oh, I'm feeling kind of down. Nah, you do your utmost. You go to that brother's house. You encourage that brother. Because, see, we need these brothers. And see, that also could be a test from Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, to see how far are you willing to go to not leave your brother behind. That's why all these things up here. Don't leave your brother behind, man. Don't. I even seen a scene in that movie clip that I showed you. The man got his thumb shot off. And when he got his thumb shot off, he put his thumb in a bag. And then he took it with him, because in his mind he was thinking, well, once I get back to the base, I'm gonna have him stitch it back on. Because a lot of people have done that. A lot of people have lost, fingers and stuff like that. I'm one to testify from that. To have this part of my finger missing. To have that missing. And have it leaning off to the side. And to have a doctor stitch this back on. Now I can move it. Yeah. It came off. But the doctor was able to put it back on. And then when you think about your finger, your bone only goes up to this much. The rest of this up to here, your bone stops like right here. The rest of this is just fatty tissue. Nothing's there but fat and nail. So imagine losing that body part and then it being stitched back on. That's how we have to be with our brothers. It felt good to know that when I was a little boy, I could have this back. And my mom made sure she did her due diligence and talked to the doctor. They did everything they could to make sure I ain't lose this piece of finger from my hand. So I can say how I feel about when it comes to the other brethren. We must do our utmost. Don't leave your brother behind, man. Do your utmost to help your brother. Your brother needs correction. Correct your brother. But do your utmost. Don't leave that brother behind. But Also, with that being said, the 144,000 elect, they're already pre-chosen. But also still, everybody's running this race. You don't know what is being attested to you. So with that being said, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, and all honors to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. And double honors to the elders and apostles, to the bishops at Great Millstone. Shalom to all the Akim and Aqua. And Shalom to the hopeful elect, the 144,000. Leave no one behind. Shalom.